In this video, I'm going to guide you through the best possible process and ways to start off your GCSE art exam paper. This guide will show you how to start, show you examples, and give you a process to follow to ensure you can make the best possible progress. This slide just shows you the types of things that you're going to need for your exam. It's really essential you look at examples of work, you understand your AOs, your assessment objectives, you know your dates and your workload so you can organise, and you plan with your teachers and your peers, have a little chat about how you're intending on doing the work, but mainly it's the examples that make the biggest difference. In the next slide here, this is just showing you a slide that I'm showing to my students which gives you examples and gives you links through to level 2 to 9 examples that have been confirmed by the AQA moderators in previous years, and this will be really super helpful to look at. The links won't show up in the video, so I'm going to put them in the description and the messages below. And if you click on that link, it will take you through to examples of differently levelled students' work from across the different grades. I'm just showing you here how I would then type in the link just into a browser window. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but if you're using the bit.ly address, but if you click on the link below, it should definitely work. When you click on it, you'll come through to some folders, and on those folders it will show you then what each different level of the student has got. I'm just going to click on this level 9 one here, really superb example of a level 9 unit of work. And then if you click on the individual images, you'll then be able to see a little bit bigger what the student was making. As the videos go on, it should show you a progression through lots of different drawing, experimentation, photography that student has used to observe and record, and then the drawings. It's really key that you follow the first part, which is annotating your exam paper. It's a really key, important part. This student has done it here in a book, whereas other students opt to do it on a sheet. And the rest of the little images there are just different parts going all the way through to the final piece, which was a little bit bigger than A4, and the student then created that to have different panels revealing different animal studies and artist connections they've done. This slide is just a little consolidated version of the exam paper. Instead of the questions being on the back, I've just put them all onto one slide so people can see. You should have received yours by now, so you know the questions you're going to get. It's really important you have a look at all the questions so you know what the different options are available, and then pick which is the best possible option for you, making sure you do pick something and challenge yourself differently from what you did in your coursework. This next slide shows you about the assessment objectives. It's really key you know what the examiner wants from you, that you know what your teachers want from you. You need to make sure you're fulfilling each of those 4 areas. As you go through your work, your teachers will guide you through this, but looking at examples is one of the best ways, so be sure to check that example bank that I left you the link for in the description. Knowing your timings is also really key. Know how long you've got, plan it, and do not leave it to the last minute. If you know you've got about 6 or 7 weeks before the exam, get yourself in a good position so you can make the most of that time. It says just on the side of the slide there, it's 75%, that's a rough estimation of how much the prep work you will do will count towards the grade, and the 25% just indicating AO4, which is your final piece assessment objective, that is your 25% of your entire grade. So the more that you can put into the prep work, the better prepared you'll be, and the more sort of broad and rich your preparation work will be for your exam. This is a slide that I showed to my students. Once you've picked a question, you know what you're doing, it's really essential that you complete an exam question sheet. And what that means is where you get your exam paper, you fix it to a sheet, and then you annotate around it. You look at the different examples that the question suggests. It also is important for you to communicate any ideas you've got about that question. This is your dialogue with the examiner. This is you talking to the examiner and explaining to them what you are intending to do. Most of the time these ideas will change, which is good. We don't want to see you having a firm plan set out and then just meeting at the end. We want experimentation. The exam board wants experimentation to see you take a journey and to change as you go through. These next couple of slides are just showing an example of an exam question sheet that was completed for a student that shows how roughly to fill out the space, just a little rough guide, but everyone will do this 100% differently. You will have seen from the previous example, it, depending on the question, will depend on the images you use and will depend on the layout that you ultimately select. This is on the inside of the exam question sheet. It has annotation for different questions, just showing that thought process. Ultimately, you do need to pick one of those questions, but it is down to you sort of making sure you annotate and give those full ideas. This slide is a what to do slide, and it gives you prompts and tips for what to do on your exam question sheet, so please make sure you follow that. And as I've mentioned previously, please make sure you look at your question. Here's one for layers on the screen where it suggests different artists, in this case Catherine Yass. Even if you have no intention of looking at this artist or using them in your work, reference them, look at them. The question has suggested it, so it makes sense that you do that. Now on to one of the most arguably important parts of the exam unit, especially with your communications with your teachers and you're thinking about how to generate ideas and sort of get yourself inspired, and that's the mood board. The best site for that is Pinterest. Yes, you can use Google as well, but Pinterest is really excellent with meta tagging and really helps to pull different ideas and look for things that you might not have thought of previously. Once you have your mood board, sometimes it can be a bit tricky to get it printed. People and students often do it using print screens, or you can do it by sort of just finding the right settings on the printer. But once you've got your images, print them off, fix them onto an A2 sheet. Then it's down to the annotation, then it's down to making sure that you say, why have you picked those images, what are they, how could you develop the images in your style following different ways and techniques. This is a slide that I give to students just to help them get ideas for how they should be responding, and you can also see there's an example for a way that a student has possibly expanded and sort of detailed their ideas on the right hand side of this slide. It's really key that you look at finished full units of work, whether that's sheet work, whether that's book work, it doesn't matter. Here's an example on the screen. It just indicates what assessment objectives were being hit and also shows you what this student did for a final piece. The best place to look for this is obviously in the little resource bank that I mentioned at the start. Here are a couple of sheets on the screen that are just indicating that even when you start recording, definitely use photography, use it. It will be great for your AO3 marks, it's recording anyway, and then it will give you something to draw from that's your own and not a secondary resource image that you've gained from the internet or gathered from other research. This is a slide here showing an out of place exam unit response and mainly indicating the sheets that have been taken and the assessment objectives that are there. Really key that you see the amount of recording there, the green AO3. A little bit less experimentation overall, but plenty of AO1, plenty of artist connections and analysis. The exam board need to see that you can contextualise and explain your ideas in written form, not just visually. This was an overall overview of a exam unit for the question landmarks a few years ago. Really excellent unit, had plenty of different sort of types of experiment, lots of drawing, recording, and this final piece in the end was quite a large scale paper reconstruction of a landmark, which in this case was a cathedral. Excellent personal unit of work, fully explained all the way through. Really key that you think about what are you going to be doing, what are you building up towards, and the experiments and these sheets indicate that. This slide here, you might have seen this earlier on, this was the exam question sheet response, and just the next couple of slides before pretty much the video ends will show you where a really excellent A grade student, really excellent exam question sheet, really thorough, then moving on towards showing you 5 weeks in where they were, a mixture of drawing, research, connections to different artists and also experiments in their style. Brilliant how they've mixed it together, very confident with the composition. You don't have to set up things like this, you can do it more separately and more cleanly. Everybody will plan it in a totally different way. And this last slide here, just a couple of larger examples of a little bit of drawing in lots of different media. Don't just stick to one thing, experiment with that media, that will be really key. This is the last slide that I'll be showing on this video. It's just a planning sheet. It's just a rough template that you could use to help you structure and think about how you're going to put together your work in your exam. You might want to sort of print off or draw out sort of rough plan as well. That can be submitted with your GCSE exam unit work as prep to show your thinking and to show your planning. So make sure you just bear in mind the things that are in this video. They will help you with your exam. I wish you all the best of luck, guys. Good luck for your exams. Bye.